Welcome back, everybody. Today I thought I'd do a different type of video and just talk about my journey so far in trading the stock market, trying to swing trade, trading options, and how I got from the beginning to where I am now, where I feel confident about doing these kinds of plays in the stock market. And I'm doing this because it's our 1 year anniversary on the YouTube channel that came up on May 5th. So this is a couple days after that. And in this video, we're going to talk about how I got started, where I learned, what I have learned so far, even though I try to share that knowledge with you guys all the time. We're going to talk about some retirement stuff as I learned it, where I learned it, and talk about some the 3-fund Vanguard portfolio that you can invest in. Hopefully by watching this, you might pick up some good tips for beginners on where to get started. And hopefully throughout the video, there'll be some good nuggets of knowledge that you pick up on, even if you are an experienced trader. And it might just give you a couple of moments of, oh, I didn't think of it that way. And then in the end, we'll go about my results that I've done since I've started trading options, which I think has been pretty good so far. Just remember, I'm not a financial advisor, so do your own research and make your own decisions, stuff like that. So first off, it's our 1 year anniversary of YouTube, and I just want to say thank you to all the people that have been with me from the beginning. I know my first subscriber was actually All Good, and she actually subscribed to me like 6 months before even doing YouTube was even a thought of mine. Like, in fact, people asked if I was gonna make a YouTube channel, and I was like, no, never. That's way too much work. And let me tell you, it's a lot of work, but I think it's been a very rewarding experience so far, and I like it. And I plan on continuing to do it. In this 1 year since I've started, the channel's gotten over 100,000 views, which is just mind blowing to me. Like, that's a lot of views. Like, I'm a pretty introverted person. I don't talk that much. I hate public speaking, and so to think that like basically 113 people or 1,000 people have watched stuff of mine, like that's crazy. Uh, I've also made about $1,000 in income from YouTube Avenue. That's pretty cool that this hobby has turned into something that can make a little extra money, which, I mean, so far I've invested more money into YouTube than I've been paid out, but it's just a fun hobby right now. Uh, Coming out of college, my first job, I was horrible at interviews. Like, I'm not the most talkative person, and I'm really bad at holding up a conversation, and I interviewed horribly. Eventually, I ended up being a technology aide in a school district, and my salary was only 12,000 a year. Yeah, that's what my college education got me to. Like, I just was that bad at interviews. I couldn't get like a software programming job because I was just horrible. Like, I'm a lot better at interviews now. Trust me, I've had some practice, but back then, oh, it was cringe. Uh, with this little amount of money, like it was hard to like get by. Like that's just not a lot of money, unfortunately. And so I learned how to be very frugal, and I think in hindsight that experience was good, but I stayed in this job for like 5 years, and I just feel like I lost all that income potential and that compounding interest. And it's also crazy like how financially illiterate I was at that time. An example would be like my student loans. I didn't think I could afford to pay them, so I wasn't. And then eventually, when they got in default and wage garnishment started happening, the way I saw it was great. That's one less thing to think about. It would be automatically deducted. Like, that's how bad I was with my financial stuff. But luckily, I was taught early on that you shouldn't be buying stuff you couldn't afford. So if you didn't have the cash for something, don't buy it. So luckily, I avoided debt, and I wasn't buying a new car out of college despite my low income. So I avoided a lot of debt, and I did try to save because eventually I wanted to buy a house. But with 12K salary, let's be real, that's not something you can do, especially in this state. And I did try to save for retirement. I opened up a Roth IRA and tried to learn a little bit about the stock market. I was interested, but I didn't really have a grasp of how everything worked back then. But I did open up a Roth IRA. In fact, the first time I heard about the Roth IRA, I think I was 12. I was working a job at my Taekwondo school for about $3.25 an hour. And I was saving up for a video game console, and eventually, like, I skipped that and ended up saving up to buy my first car, which was pretty cool. But I remember a conversation with my instructor, and they were talking about how I should be investing in a Roth IRA. But being a little kid, I didn't really understand what she was talking about. And I was interested, but didn't understand it. I remember searching on Google, who is Roth IRA? like, and I couldn't figure it out. Anyway, a Roth IRA is just a retirement account where you can invest your money, and you can do that pre-tax or something called Roth. Basically, you can be taxed before the money you put in can be taxed before you put it into this account, or you can defer the tax until you withdraw the money. And don't let that confuse you too much. Basically, as long as you're saving for retirement, it doesn't really matter if you choose Roth or pre-tax. Although the goal would be to think about what your income would be when you retire, and if it would be lower than what your income is now, which a majority of people it will be, then you should tend to prefer pre-tax. If your income when you're retired is going to be higher, then you should do Roth, because then the gains you get would not be taxable. I had conversations with some friends, and when we were first all learning about retirement stuff, the kind of consensus was that if you're making less than $55,000, Roth IRA is probably the way to go. If you're above that, you can start to make a case about pre-tax or Roth. I prefer Roth because then I don't have to pay taxes when I withdraw the money, so I know that that's my money when I take it out. Whereas pre-tax, you do have to pay that money when you take it out, depending on whatever the income tax is at that time. So if income taxes rise, then you pay more when you pull it out. And if you make like six figures, then probably pre-tax is the way to go. And once you have determined like what kind of account you want to make, the next thing is what to buy. And back then, I wasn't really into the stock market too much, but what I ended up doing was creating a 3-fund Vanguard portfolio. I think I learned about it from Money Mustache or maybe Boggleheads, one of those two sites, I think, or maybe even Reddit. And basically, what I was doing with all my investing was just using the 3-fund portfolio. And what you do is you buy 3 Vanguard ETFs. So you got Vanguard Total Stock Market Fund, Vanguard Total, what's that word? International Fund, and then the Vanguard Bond Fund. And basically, what you got to do is do your own research to figure out what weight you want to do. What I found is that most people recommended like bonds should be about the percentage should be about what your age is. So if you're 20, then you shouldn't have more than 20% in the bond account here. So VBTLX. And basically, the bonds are like a savings account. Like, that's not going to compound for you over time. It's just kind of like a safety net in case stuff goes down. If the stock market collapses, you can sell your bonds and then buy the dip kind of scenario, and then add more contributions into the bond fund to kind of replenish that. Would be kind of the idea. Me personally, I set that to 5%, and I just put all that extra money into VTSAX, and that's kind of how I went. And the other thing is like the remaining percentage that's not in bonds, like 2-to-1 for international exposure versus local exposure. But do your own research. Google search the Vanguard 3-fund portfolio. You'll find all kinds of information about how to set that up. Really nice. And like the good thing is that you're investing like basically the entire stock market, and you don't have to worry about picking individual stocks and one thing dropping and killing your entire portfolio. So that's basically what a majority of my investing was starting out, was just a 3-fund portfolio. Add more money and just watch it grow over time. So anyway, I was working this job out of college as a technology aide in a school district, and I was making really poor money. And something that kind of, there had to be like some moment to spark the fire to get out of that situation. And what happened was one time I was helping a teacher that was subbing for a period teach the course. And basically, I already worked with the original teacher that was out about how to plan out this course. And basically, I was the one teaching the class. And at one point, the teacher made a comment like, yeah, I just subbed for this period and I just made like $120 for doing it. And I just kind of sat there like, really? Like, you just sat in the back and did nothing? Like, that's more than I make in a day. And he's like, wow, that's really horrible. They're not paying you enough. And he said that jokingly and in good spirit, so like nothing bad there, but it did like make me really like, realize like, yeah, I'm kind of being taken advantage here. And so then I went and pursued my first master's degree, And during this time, like they dangled promotions in front of me, like you get this, you can be the technology integration coach, or you can do the level 3 tech stuff. Like they dangled promotions and they just never gave it. And so what I learned is like company loyalty, it's kind of out the door. Like they companies don't deserve your loyalty unless they treat you well. And being a young adult at that point, I didn't know better that I was being taken advantage of that much. But once I got my master's degree and they removed that carrot again of, oh, you know, opened a position and they didn't give it to me, they gave it to some other outside hire. That's when I started interviewing for other jobs and ended up in my current company, which has been really great so far. Uh, Making that switch, my income went from 12,000 to 45,000. So now suddenly I actually have money I can do stuff with, and so I had to like learn about financial information. And so that's basically what I did. Is I did a lot of time researching like what I should be doing with my money because to be honest, I really didn't know what to be doing. Uh, it's kind of crazy to think about like how financial education is not a high priority in your K-12 schooling or even in college. I took a couple econ classes, but nothing about personal finance. So I learned about budgeting, tracking expenses. I learned about lifestyle inflation, and luckily I'm just kind of naturally frugal, so that didn't really affect me too much. In fact, I was saving probably a little too much at that time. I was used to living off 12K, so from 45K was just life changing. And then I also spent a lot of time learning more about retirement stuff, and started investing in my 403, 457 plans, and learn about my pension and how that works. So like I started setting myself up then for retirement, and like those early years here is what really set me up for success when I did start getting active in trading, because I know that when I get old and retire, like I'm pretty set in that department because of my pension and the money that I did save up during this time and for the next couple of years, because I went a little crazy putting a lot of money to make up for those years where I was not saving too much for retirement, because I wanted that compounding growth to start working for me. And then in my current job, I did get promoted anytime that there's like a vacancy. So the first year I got promoted and my salary went from 45K to 60,000. And something I learned during that part is that even when you're being promoted, like negotiate your salary. Like they originally offered me 52,000 for the promotion, but that was the first time I tried like negotiating what my pay should be and talk them up a lot of money. And same thing when I got promoted again when someone else retired. Like I talked them up again, and like when they give you an offer, like everything is negotiable. Uh, if you're going for a job and like they say that the pay is set in stone, then ask about other benefits. Maybe they can give you more benefits that can be worth more than something that's just in your paycheck. So just recognize that everything's negotiable, and it's expected that you will negotiate. If you don't, then you are giving up free money. I mean, you can talk about maybe getting higher contributions or extra paid time off, vacation days, that kind of stuff. And during this time, like obviously, I saved more money. And with that extra money, what I was doing was starting to build up my dividend portfolio on my taxable account. And I started with what every dividend investor tries to do, and you start building your portfolio using that dividend aristocrat list. That's basically big companies that have paid dividends consecutively for, I think it's 20 plus years, maybe it's 30 plus years, and they consistently grow their dividend over time. And that's basically a snapshot of what my dividend portfolio looked like. Like those are the companies I was investing in, which is pretty cool going back in time and looking at that like, wow, like that's a pretty decent portfolio. And obviously, I learned about DRIP, dividend reinvestment plans, where a dividend pays out, you just use it to buy more shares of stock. Although my account balance wasn't big enough that any of these were dripping full shares, so you start learning about fractional investing, which you can do using an M1 Finance account, stuff like that. And then also with the dividend portfolio, you learn not to chase the yield. The higher the yield, the more risk that stock has of going down, basically. So with like 3 to 5%, I think it's like more like 2 to 4% is what people that truly invest in dividends really targeted. And I think that's kind of what I was doing for the most part. And that's also when I picked up MFA, which is a stock that you saw in my portfolio for a very long time since then. And then eventually the pandemic came, And for me, this was a huge opportunity because we had to transition to working from home. And I'll say, like, I do have coworkers that hated that whole transition. They found it stressful and they loved being in the office. For me, like, it was pretty awesome. Like, I hate everything that was going on with the pandemic, but in terms of working from home, was awesome. I was more productive. I also felt like I had to be more productive because I didn't want them thinking I was not actually working from home. So a lot more productive. I feel like I was able to work better. Like my stuff was better since I wasn't being interrupted by coworkers coming over to talk, stuff like that. Like a lot less distractions, and could focus on a task and then move from A to B to C without being interrupted. It was just great. But one of the big things is that I think mentally and like my well-being was just a lot better because, well, quite frankly, I have a long commute. It's like an hour and 15 minutes each way, and I have an hour lunch that I have to be on site for. You can't like clock out early and leave. So being work from home, I got back like 3.5 hours of my time because I could just eat like a grilled cheese sandwich at my desk or something. So 3.5 hours a day, 5 days a week. I had a lot more time, basically a part-time job's worth of time that I could do whatever I wanted to. And I chose to use that to pursue knowledge and try to find other sources of income that could supplement my main job. And the two things I did was I started taking classes for real estate to get a real estate license, as well as really dive in and learn about the stock market because I just had so much more energy since basically I got back 20 hours a week from just being work from home. And I did both. I mean, I got my license for real estate, although from what I was learning with stock market and my success with it, like that is the route I end up choosing to go. Uh, in around March, I ended up selling all my dividend portfolio and started trying to swing trade, evaluate stocks, look for those quick movements, and I was successful. I made a profit when I was doing this, but I kept trying to review my trades, like what made me do this? Is this repeatable? And I just kind of felt like it was luck. Like looking back, I'm pretty lucky that I didn't blow my account back then. I was making trades that were too big for my account size and just getting lucky movements. And so then eventually I came across one of those trade alert courses slash services. I'm not going to say the name, but basically it was a lifetime membership for $1,500. And I somehow convinced myself to pull the trigger and sign up for that. I totally feel like I got scammed on that. Like the guy did put out his trades, or at least some of his trades, with some decent sounding research. I remember being like one of his recruiting commercial things, and people were saying, "Whoa, I just made $20,000 off that stock alert that you gave me." And thinking back now, like I should have recognized that was more like a scam or a plant. Like if you've been making all this money from this guy's trades, why are you in his recruiting commercial talking about it now? Like, should you be out doing something else? You have no reason to be in here. So like, it was a team of guys, and they had plans to make it sound more successful than it was, basically. And what I found is like his trades, like he was making like 50-50. Like he put on two trades, one works, one doesn't. He closes the one that wasn't, and then just pushes like the one that was working. Like, whoa, look, we made $30,000 off this play, and this was easy. I called this out 2 weeks ago, and here's all this. Like, you focus on the trades that you win in. Obviously, you're not gonna push the stuff that you lost, and it just seemed like he was hiding his losses and just promoting his wins. And I did follow a couple. I think I came out with like a net loss of like $600. I was like, this is silly and this is just not helpful at all. And basically just chalked up that $1,500 I had paid out as a loss and decided to make my own alert service so you can sign up now. No, just joking. Basically just be aware that people that are selling courses, if they were making that much money to be successful, they wouldn't be selling their information. Like they should be willing to give it for free kind of thing. Or not talk about it at all. Like, just spend your time making your money, essentially. Like, why are they trying to sell this service if they're profitable doing the other thing? It's just selling a service and teaching other people. It's a distraction on some level. So just be aware of that. Like, if you see those trade alert services, Another thing I'll say is that when I sign up for this, I feel like I basically paid $1,500 to be added to a bunch of spam email lists. Because then you just got every other trader with their alert service spamming you nonstop. Like, look at these trades we got. It was stupid. Like, just your money is better spent elsewhere, I think, for a majority of these. I've yet to see one that is 100% like legit and profitable. Although there may be some out there, just I haven't seen one yet. And then come April 2020, I started learning about options, and it's kind of funny because like a month before this, I had a talk with a coworker, and I was talking about my swing trading, and I said, but people that are trading options, they're just straight up gamblers. I'll never be doing that. And then here I am learning about options and starting it. So when I first started to do my first options trade, my account balance was 64K. So my swing trading days were successful, but upon review, I didn't think they were sustainable the way I was doing it. And I forgot to mention, I did try trading some penny stocks as well. I did go down that rabbit hole and quickly found out that's probably not the best way to go. But anyway, my first options trade, I bought some SPY puts, and then SPY went down like 5 minutes later after I closed those for a profit. And I was like, whoa, that was pretty cool. And so I was like, let's try another one. And I bought a Zoom option, and that made money pretty quickly. Like, whoa, this is easy. Let's try another one. And so I think I went back and bought more SPY puts that actually lost like $420. And even though that was a huge loss to me at the time, because like $500 was a lot of money to me. Remember, I was making 12K not too long ago, a year. Like, that's still a lot of money. I was hooked. Like, I saw the potential for options to like really accelerate that growth to get to financial independence pretty quickly. I'm not there yet, but I feel like I'm well on my way in that direction. And now we're taking a look at my first 3 trades I did. And so my first one was a SPY put, and I bought, actually it looks like I bought 2 contracts. And like I literally closed it out like within 5 minutes for a $340 profit. And the Zoom one was the next day, got a little nibble, had to try again, and there's that profit. And then the third SPY one, I thought I closed that, but looking at my log, apparently I did have that one to expiration and it lost 420. So I didn't know that I should close the option at that time. So I was still pretty new to options. I knew the very basic minimum stuff to get started. And then after like these, I learned about covered calls and how you can sell covered calls on stocks. So that's kind of like my strategy when I first started out was I'll buy 100 shares of this stock and then sell a covered call and collect a dividend while I have that. So that's kind of how I got my first steps into options as I was learning. And I was hooked. I mean, let's be real. Like, once you start with options and you have success, like, you want to learn more. The more knowledge you have, the better trader you can be. And I'll say, like, even now, like, nobody can predict, like, if the stock market's going up or down consistently. Like, you're going to be wrong. And what you have to do is learn how to manage those trades so they don't absolutely destroy you. But learning, I was watching YouTube videos, Tasty Trades, In the Money was another one I watched a lot of. Reddit, there's some option subreddits out there that I browsed and asked questions on and read what other people were dealing with. Just exposing myself to as much of this content as I could because, I mean, I wanted to learn as much as I could quickly. Even went to the library, checked out a couple books to read, including some that were like really old and outdated, but they still had some useful information in them. And then also like Discord. It was originally from a Dividend Discord that I met a bunch of option traders. And that's actually where I met Randy Miller. Randy Miller was basically like my main mentor, like moving forward. He helped me level up my game significantly. And all he ever asked for in return is that like you just pay that knowledge forward, which eventually led to me trying out making a YouTube channel and sharing what I learned so far. And then the other thing I did is I back tested strategies a lot. Like went back in time like 10 years and sat there and traded during the weekends, like simulating and fast forwarding. So like I feel like I picked up years of experience doing that because you can use on-demand features, fast forward, and just gain all that experience. Now, it's still tough to keep that mindset of this is real money that you're playing with in a play account because, well, let's be real, it's a play account. You can click reset. In fact, one of my friends I was teaching options about, like, it became a joke. Well, that trade was horrible. Reset, reset. Uh, there's no reset button in when you're using your real money, but try to think of it as though it's your real money that you're trading here, and try to simulate how you deal with the emotions. It's like you won't see the real game until you have the money, have skin in the game, but you can get pretty close and then recognize how to manage your strategies by using the backtesting. Like, really spend the time to like use it. Like, I think that helped me avoid losses that most beginner option traders have when they start out. Going back to Randy, like one of his favorite videos that like inspired me even more was one that he made was called AT&T pays me $300 to not own it. Basically, he was selling puts on AT&T. They're expiring worthless, so he was just making that money like it was nothing. He also did some Zoom classes, and those were pretty interesting. Like, only like 5 or 6 people would come, and it was just, he was an amazing resource, and I just didn't understand why people did not join these. And it was just awesome that he was willing to share all that knowledge. Like, he was an awesome dude, and like it's sad to think that like today is like the 1 year anniversary of his passing. Ugh. And it's just awesome to see that we be able to keep his legacy going forward. Like, the Discord server that we advertised in all our descriptions is one that was started by Randy, and when he passed, like, we wanted to keep that legacy going forward. So that's why that's always a free Discord. He always said, like, you don't owe me anything, just pay it forward, teach someone else, help someone else become better financially as a result of meeting you, kind of thing. And one of the big things that he helped me kind of level up my game was learning about rolling in one of those Saturday Zoom classes he did. And that's when I feel like my game went from, I'm just kind of here doing something, to I can actually make a plan and I know how to manage these positions. Like, before you start trading, I highly recommend learning how to roll a position properly. Like, if you're doing the back testing, go back in time, pick a position that you know is going to lose, fast forward to like the date of expiration, and practice managing that position going forward, and see how you can turn a losing trade into a winning trade. Like, once you master that, then I think you can start trying to trade in the options. The other thing you have to think about is like your risk management. You're gonna be wrong on trades. It's gonna happen. No one bats 100%. I only batted 100% for 1 month. Like, that was a pretty crazy month. But over time, no, I probably lose like 10-15% of my trades in any given month. And you gotta make sure that you know how to manage those, turn them into winners in the long term, or cut your losses early. And part of that is just having good risk management, not being too exposed to one individual play that can take you out. So just risk management, like position sizing, very huge. Knowing how to manage your trades, rolling. Uh, and then the other thing that helped me learn a lot was somebody came up and started a private Discord group, and there were like 7 of us, and we would meet every Saturday night and basically bounce ideas off each other, challenge each other, talk about plays that we were thinking about putting on, what could go wrong with them. Develop friendships that I think is going to last a lifetime. And it was just a really good thing that we had going. And I'm a very introverted person. Like, the first one of these Discord groups that I went to, like one of the live chats, I just kind of sat there with my camera off and didn't say anything, and then just kind of disappeared. I'm glad they didn't kick me out then, because I mean, that was a nice lifetime opportunity there to make some friends and get out of my shell a little bit. But even if you're a very private person, like, I highly encourage you, like, look for some other people. Like, you can check the Discord group, Retire with Options, and see if there's anyone else that wants to start like a weekly meetup with you where you guys just talk strategies and help each other out and help each other learn. Like, I think this is probably what helped me the most, was just being exposed to these people that all had similar interests and just helped each other grow and learn over time. And I'm not going to say all their names here because I'm not sure if they want to be revealed, but you guys know some of them. uh, So now let's get to my results so far. So I've been trading options for 25 months now, and over that time, I've realized $134,000 in realized profit from just the options. That's crazy. Like, thinking back to my first job out of college, that's 11 years of income in 2 years. Like, it's really like crazy to think about. My account went from 64,000 to 225, and I did I continue to contribute to my accounts, but you can see a majority of that is just the realized income here. And then there's also income that came from uh, selling stocks at a profit when like covered calls get breached. You make money off those calls or the stocks from those calls. And I never tracked that. Well, like part of that is what also helped me get to the 225. And I mean, that's where I am so far with my options trading. Like, it's been a pretty big life changer. I think it's accelerated my growth to financial independence. Like, I feel like I have options now because I can make money in the stock market, whether the stock market goes up or down. And I try to share that knowledge in my YouTube videos. And we also have a weekly Discord meeting in that options server that is in the video description. Every Thursday night, a lot of people get together. We talk about the stock market, talk about strategies, and I think that actually goes like way past even I'm on there. Like, they go through like midnight and just keep going. It's pretty cool to see that that's still a thing that's running. So I highly encourage you, if you don't have anyone that you trade with, join that Discord server. Completely free, always gonna be free, and see if you can make connections that'll help you grow, guys. And well, I guess I kind of talked about that. I challenge you to find other people that you can bounce ideas off of and you can learn with, and you can use the Discord to try to find people. Like, talk in the general chat, like, hey, I saw Thumper's video and I want to see if anyone wants to form a private group that meets weekly to try to grow together and be successful, make money. Uh, Backtest your strategies, virtual accounts, play money. They're very helpful to like practice managing positions. Like, if you can't manage a position, you shouldn't be put in that position on in the first place. Like, make sure you know how to turn a losing trade into a winning trade if it goes against you. Make a plan before you make a trade, like what's going to be your stop loss, how you can manage it if it goes against you. When I'm thinking about trades, I'm thinking about that stuff. Like, what happens, worst case scenario, what am I going to do with this trade if I put it on? I kind of like go in with the mindset that I'm wrong. So when I'm right, it's like, yay. Plan for the worst and just enjoy the best that happens. And then, obviously, if you made it to this part and you haven't subscribed yet, click that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys next time.